All right, so, okay. So Adrian, you want to get at it?
So there's a chat from one of my rescue associates who said that she's online, she can hear us, but we can't hear her, which I guess is the way it's supposed to be. But
Well, there is no communication except at the end when we have the Q&A. So
okay,
no one can speak up during this period, during the lecture. So,
so
well,
are you letting
I'm
people in?
yeah, I'm starting.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll close this off. There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Natural Sciences Lecture Series with the Friends of San Pedro Valley Park. I'm Mila Stroganoff, Programs Director and host for this evening's webinar. I hope that everyone has been enjoying the summer months. Time flies, as they say, and here we are in September, readying ourselves for our first webinar of the fall session. I hope all of you are well and looking forward to tonight's program. I'm truly pleased to have Craig Nikitas joining us tonight. He will introduce us to the secret of the mystical world of owls. And this is the lecturer who gave us the program in October of last year about raptors and saving them when they get into terrible situations. So I will introduce our speaker in just a moment. First, let me mention that October's program will be a natural history journey into the national parks of Costa Rica and Colombia. J.R. Blair, whom many of you know, has traveled to these places multiple times, has agreed to share his trips with us. Let me mention the date. It's Saturday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Please join us, and I'm certain we will have a terrific trip to Costa Rica and Colombia. There is a wide selection of lectures that are posted on the Friends website. Take a minute or two to have a look. I'm certain that you'll find something interesting and edifying. We, the Friends of San Pedro Valley Park, have a bit of a conundrum at the moment, though. We're actually trying to acquire insurance. We are going to get insurance. It's just, how shall I say, expensive. So if you can help us out with a donation, please do go to the website, friendsofsanpedrovalleypark.org, then click on donate and fill out the information required. I don't usually ask for anything, but this is something that's come up and is causing a bit of a dilemma for us. I'm pleased to announce that this lecture is being recorded, so in a few days you'll be able to listen to it again and recommend it to friends. Tonight's lecture will follow the same pattern as previous ones with a Q&A at the end. So if people think that they can speak with the speaker during the lecture or right now, it doesn't work that way. We're going to have all the questions and comments sent into the Q&A section. Why? Because our chat is sort of iffy. So forget the chat, just put everything into the Q&A section. So, and now I go to our speaker. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker who, as I say, gave us a program called Keep 'em Flying in October of 2025. And what?
2024.
2024. Sorry, 2024. Craig Nikitas is a retired urban planner, has been a wildlife volunteer working with raptors for over 50 years. In 2015, Craig founded Bay Raptor Rescue to provide a free service to aid predatory birds in distress. His career has included caring for captive animals at the Randall Museum, Steinhardt Aquarium, and the San Francisco Zoo, tending birds in rehab at Wild Care, trapping and banning migratory and dispersive birds of prey for 30 years with the Golden Gate Raptor Observatory and presenting talks on the natural history of corvids, diurnal raptors, and owls at schools, colleges, universities, local naturalist groups, parks associations, the Point Reyes Birding and Nature Festival, and to professional staff at the Lindsay Wildlife Experience, Curiosity, and the San Francisco and Oakland Zoos. So, Craig, take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Mila. I'm pleased to be here tonight to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which are owls. So let's get into it.
Let's see if I can remove myself.
So we'll be talking about owls of California and looking at several species that live here. First, we'll cover basics and then 9 local species, some other California owls, talk about owl conservation, what we can do to help these birds, and also have an owl conversation where we hopefully can answer questions and have a discussion about what we've seen. So first, owl basics. Why are we fascinated by owls? It's because they have an upright posture, sort of a human aspect, binocular vision, both eyes facing forward. They're nocturnal predators and mysterious hunters of the night. They have incredible senses of hearing and sight, and they're silent and stealthy in flight, and have distinctive and mysterious calls. Excuse me, Mila, would there be a way to get my picture off the screen so that we can see the entire slide? If possible, thank you.
I'm trying. Can you can go to view yourself, and if you or do video at the bottom, and
Okay,
you'll close your own video.
okay, that's a good idea.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
but there's a black square with my name in it still on the screen.
but that's at the top. I can't do anything about that. That's just your
Okay,
name.
all
Yeah.
right. Well,
Okay.
anyway, the owls have evolved adaptations that are amazing that have enabled them to thrive on every continent except Antarctica. They also feature in the cultures of many civilizations, including, for example, this Native American petroglyph on ancient Greek coins, Renaissance silverwork, paintings, children's literature. People do find them fascinating. So, in terms of their scientific classification, they are birds of prey or raptors. And raptors comprise 3 of the scientific orders of birds. One order includes the vultures, eagles, ospreys, hawks, etc. A second order comprises falcons. And owls are the third order, the Strigiformes. They're mainly nocturnal birds, although some are diurnal that hunt during the day. And they're closely related to the nightjar family that includes whippoorwills and nighthawks. Owls have large, wide heads. They have those binocular eyes we talked about that take up room in the front and large facial discs. So those wide heads are on long, flexible necks. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at this picture where that wide head I just talked about is plonked down on a stocky columnar body, and you're saying, Craig, why do you say they have long necks? Let's do a sidebar and find out. With this barn owl, magically remove the feathers, and this is what's underneath all those feathers. You can see that longer neck, and if we also then get down to the bones, you could count 14 cervical vertebrae in the neck. Most mammals, from a mouse to a giraffe, have 7 cervical vertebrae. Owls have 14, and all those joints make for a flexible connection to the head that enables them to turn their heads all the way around behind them and then another 90 degrees for like 3/4 of a full circle uh, of rotation. They cannot turn their heads all the way around, but they can do amazing things in spite of that. So other characteristics, they have strong hooked bills, really strong long toes that are feathered, which is unusual because most birds have scaly toes and legs. They have long, sharp talons. This great horned owl has crushing power in those feet that exceed that of a golden eagle that's 3 times larger than it, and are capable of agile and silent flight, and they have cryptic plumage. And we'll talk about those last two things right now. Owls are able to fly silently in part because of the structure of their feathers. The leading edge of the feather has comb-like webbing, stiff little comb teeth that break up the turbulence flowing over the wing into kind of a mini turbulence. And the trailing edge of the wing, sorry, I went a little too far here. Let me get the trailing edge. The trailing edge of the wing is kind of soft and fringy, and that breaks up that mini turbulence into micro turbulence as the air leaves the wing. So those feathers make no noise as the owl flies through the air. That way the owls can hear their prey in the dark, but their prey can't hear them coming. They're also possessed of cryptic plumage, which means camouflage. Here's a Western screech owl. You can see how its feathers resemble trees and bark, and how with its eyes closed and its head elongated, it blends right into the tree trunk where it's trying to get some sleep. And here's a great horned in the hollow of a tree. A great gray owl perched beside a tree trunk. So they have really well-developed camouflage. In addition to the binocular vision that we talked about that gives them depth perception, they have wide cones of vision. Each eyeball gathers more light than ours. They have a huge concentration of receptors in the eye, a fair amount of cones that see color in daylight, but a huge number of rods that detect light under low light conditions. They also have a fast refresh rate in the visual part of the brain and the transmission of the signal from the eyes that enables them to see motion and see things faster than we do. So another way they see well at night depends on the reflective layers on the backs of their eyes inside on the retinas that bounce back any photons that don't get absorbed by the nerves. This gives them those reflective eyes that you see in a lot of nocturnal animals like raccoons, dogs, wolves. And each animal has a slightly different color of eye shine based on the chemistry of the retina. Raptors also have a third transparent eyelid in addition to the two skin eyelids, the upper and lower ones that you can see. This transparent eyelid is called the nictitating membrane, or the nictitans, and it slides across the eye to lubricate the eye and protect it when the owl is flying through brush and twigs or about to hit prey, and it keeps their corneas from getting scratched. Their ears, we've talked about how they have keen hearing. You may not have seen an owl's actual ear before. It's covered by a flap of skin in the facial disc. Here the bander has pulled back the flap within the disc so that you can see the aperture or opening, and you can see how large it is relative to the size of the head. And the ear flap then folds down over it and covers it, but doesn't block the sound. Their facial discs also augment this tremendous hearing. If the owl's ear is there in that dotted oval, when sound hits anywhere on the facial disc, it acts like a parabolic reflector and bounces the sound toward the ear. So there's a other amazing adaptation that you may not be aware of that's pretty fascinating to me anyway. And they have a horizontal offset between their ears by the space between each one. They also can distinguish sound in a vertical direction because the facial discs are different sizes. You can see by eye here that their right disc is slightly higher than the left one. So if you draw a line through the eyes and move it up to the top of the low disc and then draw a line to the top disc, you can see how that offset lets them hear the difference in a vertical direction too, so that they get an x-axis with the horizontal distance of the ears and a y-axis with this vertical offset that enables them to hear prey well in the dark and know where that prey is in front of them. So this gives you a sense of the relative size of these birds, with the smallest elf owl on the left and the large great gray owl on the right, and a bunch of species in between that we'll take a look at. Owls are fairly territorial. This sign for automobiles is actually for their, while they're hunting and flying low, to keep people driving slow, be aware so they don't hit the owls. But their territories are advertised by their calls that you know, that you've heard, the hooting calls tell other owls, this is our territory, we're here, stay out. It gets especially intense during the nesting season when they get very aggressive toward people who get close to the nest. And some species like barn owls will tolerate other owls of the same species near their nests. And what they're territorial about is their hunting area, not the actual nest location. So there's a sign warning pedestrians near a nesting area that they could get bombarded by owls if they're not careful. And unfortunately for this deer, he didn't pay attention to the sign. So that barred owl is suggesting that he move on away from their nest. They're not notably migratory, at least the more common species. Some of the less common species do migrate. You can see from this range map where the green is the year-round territory. Great horned owls have a wide range and they pretty much stay put in it. After the nesting season, a lot of pairs break up, may go their separate ways, but the great horns not only stay in their territory, but often stay together even when it's not nesting season. The barn owls in the middle, that brown area shows, or tan color shows where some of them migrate northward during the summer, but it's not a huge migration. Their prey is still available in the green area, which are the warmer parts of the US. So the rodents that they eat are still around. And then the burrowing owl on the right is more migratory. It's primarily a Great Plains bird and breeds in the summer during that over the tan areas. And they do, you can see a little swatch of blue along the California coast. If you look carefully there, they do migrate and winter in the Bay Area. The colonies of burrowing owls we have in San Jose and Berkeley and Alameda and other places in the Bay Area are birds that are overwintering here. They don't breed here as far as I know. So here are the species that do hang around and are visible. That's a gallery of them and their names, and we'll look at each one individually now. So the barn owl is a very common owl, and they're frequently seen even though they're highly nocturnal because they tend to nest, as their name suggests, near human structures. They don't have ear tufts. They have a heart-shaped face. The upper parts are an ashy gray and tawny and white color. The males are generally white and not heavily spotted on the underparts. And the females are spotted on the underparts with a tan wash. There you see the eye shine on a male that's perched in an evergreen. There's one living up to its name. That may not be a barn, but it is in a structure there. Here's one in a tree hollow where you see the female plumage with the tan wash on the breast and the gray spots. And one in an owl box. These owls readily take to artificial boxes, which is great because it's provided nesting habitat for them where it's been removed otherwise. Here are some nestlings covered in white fuzzy down. In a few weeks, they'll turn into the handsome birds their parents are, like this guy. And they are amazing to see during the night. They're that silent flight in white ghostly bodies moving through the air at speed always give me a thrill when I see them. Another species, great horned owls, well known, kind of the quintessential owl. They have huge ear tufts, giving them their name. They're not horns, they're ear tufts of feathers, but anyway, the great horns have a white V on the parts between their eyes above the bills and a white necklace, yellow eyes, and their bodies have dense, dark ochre and white and rusty splotches. They're usually very heavily marked birds. You can see the tone of colors that blend in with the tree it's in. That's a male call, a female call. That's a male call, the lower, simpler call. Owls and corvids like crows, ravens, jays, magpies cannot bear to be around each other. The owls will kill and eat the corvids. The corvids can attack the owl nests and eat their eggs or their young, and they're always at war with each other. Here's an owl nestling who is on the ground after its nest was destroyed in a windstorm. And while it was in care, that, by the way, is an alarm call warning somebody to get away with the clacking and the screech. But anyway, this little owl was in care for a while and fostered by a captive mother owl that couldn't be released. And she raised 3 young that year in foster care. And this guy and his 2 foster siblings were released into the wild. But I thought you might want to see how they eat their prey. They just swallow small rodents whole. And he's quite content. There's an adult in flight taking off from a perch on a utility pole. The third common species in the Bay Area is the little screech owl. It's small, yellow-eyed, has expressive ear tufts in that it frequently raises them, lowers them, tucks them against its head. A kind of light ashy colored V eyebrow over the bill, bright yellow eyes, and dark vertical streaking that resembles bark. There's its call. And here you can see the ear tufts on this bird are tucked down against the head. The call isn't a screech, it resembles a bouncing ping pong ball. That's a female call, a little higher pitch. And the male call is lower pitch. In the Bay Area, we have 2 color morphs, predominantly gray, but also a brown morph that's rarer. And then back east, they actually have a rufous or red morph that we don't see in the West, but they have both the gray and the rufous birds east of the Rockies. Here are a couple of fledged birds, still have a little bit of down on their heads. As I mentioned, burrowing owls also inhabit the Bay Area during the winter. They're a striking bird with a fierce stare and those long legs, and they're most commonly seen on the ground or flying low over it. No ear tufts, the prominent white eyebrow, white dappling on the back, bright yellow eyes, long legs, and they can hover in flight like a kestrel or a kingfisher. They predominantly eat rodents, but they'll also eat a lot of insects and snakes and amphibians, or herps, as we say. Here's one in flight, one on the ground near the burrow. A couple of youngsters, almost adult feathers. Here's a creche of little guys. During the day, a couple of the adults. The burrows, by the way, are usually a colony of several, and some of the adults will stay and watch the kids while other adults fly off and get food for everybody. And that way the kids are protected during the day. This is the threat posture in front of the burrow. The photographer got too close to this owl, and it wanted to scare the photographer away by looking fierce and big and spreading those wings. That's a common threat pose with other species of owls as well. Another species we occasionally have is the little northern saw-whet owl. It's even a little smaller than the screech owl, no ear tufts, kind of fluffy facial discs, yellow eyes, and broad brown blotches on the breast. And another thing about the saw-whet owl is the young have a completely different plumage than the adults. A couple of owls have that age dimorphism in their feathers, but the young saw-whet owl almost looks like it's a different species. So it's easy to tell the age based on that. Short-eared owls are beautiful flyers. They're more often seen than their closely related cousin, the long-eared owl. But the short ears are diurnal. You can see them flying over marshlands and fields in the morning and before dusk in the evening. They have very tiny ear tufts that often don't show, a heart-shaped face, black eyeliner around both eyes, streaked breast, and very, very long wings, which is characteristic of this genus. It gives them a fluttery moth-like flight. There you can see the eyeshadow distinctly. Really great birds. And their cousins, the long-eared owls, uh, have long tufts that make up for the short ones of its cousin there. This bird also shows hourglass rictals. The rictal feathers are those bristly feathers around the owl's bill. This species has them above the bill as well in that kind of H or hourglass shape that helps distinguish them from, say, a great horned owl. Some people have trouble telling them apart. It also has an orange tinge to the facial discs and the very long wings of this genus, and an elongated body. This bird hangs out mostly in trees and tree canopy, but this bird here in its threat pose is a captive one at the Portland Zoo and displaying there so you can hear it. And then that's the threat call, again with the wing clacking. So the spotted owl is a rare bird that has a very restricted territory. You can identify it from the spotted head, the dark brown eyes. It has a collar or ruff that has spots, but they're kind of blotchy and more horizontal. And then the spotted breast for which it's named. Here's a dorsal view, a view in flight, a couple of nestlings a little older with a parent in back. And here they are at several weeks old, the male on the left, the female on the right. Male has the pointy tail and is slightly smaller. Female has the squarer tail and is larger. those birds were in Muir Woods, and their territory is now being threatened by the ninth species we'll talk about as a local bird, the barred owl. It's similar in form to the spotted owl, but 4 inches bigger. It has, again, no ear tufts, dark brown eyes, a collar, but the collar has horizontal barring that's obvious, and then brown vertical streaks on the breast and belly. Its call is well known too. Birders have anthropomorphized the call as "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you?" And this is a dialogue between a male and female. There's a dorsal view of one trying to sleep while being attacked by jays. As I mentioned, corvids and owls do not mix. This is back east because those are blue jays. They're not our California jays. This trio of youngsters was fostered because they lost their nest and parents. And then here's a barred owl discharging a pellet. All owls eat their food, a lot of it whole, and they mash up the food before it gets into the gizzard. And the digestible parts move on through the tiny opening into the digestive system. The non-digestible parts, like bones and rat tails and big pieces of fur, skulls, are compressed into a pellet and ejected from the mouth so that they don't go through the digestive system. A lot of biology classes in high schools or even younger ages get owl pellets and dissect them so they can find the bones of the little rodents inside and see what their diet was. So I wanted to briefly compare the barred owl with the spotted owl. Um, Biologists and wildlife manager are actually intervening in this fight. But where the territories overlap, the birds have been found to hybridize, where the two species mix. The offspring don't look like this, like half barred owl and half spotted owl, but they do have. I wanted to show you this graphic so that you could compare the plumages and learn to distinguish one from the other. So this range map shows the blue area that was the, quote, historic barred owl range. This is where they lived when I was a kid and first learning about birds. But gradually they spread across southern Canada and then down the Pacific coast. The brown area is spotted owl territory. Their range is almost completely taken over by barred owls. You see the blue stripes that show you where that's occurred. So far, the barred owls haven't entered the southern spotted owl range in Lower California, but in the Sierra and the coastal range, there was quite a decline in spotted owl population when the barred owls first move in. There's been some recovery. And as I mentioned, wildlife managers, including federal U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department, have a plan to actively extirpate barred owls that are in the more fragile territory of the spotted owl. They're planning to shoot several thousand barred owls. So here's a comparison of their characteristics. You can see the barred owl is bigger. It is more aggressive. It uses the same kind of nesting environment that spotted owls use. The bards lay a few more eggs, but in addition to the size and greater aggression, the diet of the barred owl has enabled them to really spread their territory out because they eat anything they can catch, whereas the spotted owls tend to prey on wood rats and flying squirrels that occupy the old growth forests that are their territory. They haven't shown any inclination to spread out say, into suburbs like barred owls have, where they could eat rodents that live alongside humans. So let's take a look at the other species and talk about 5 more. Um, and it might actually perhaps it should have been limited to 3 more. A couple of those 5 species will mention why they were kind of on the edge of being included here. But the first is the magnificent great gray owl. Actually, let me. Um, Apparently, I've got the order on this slide mixed up so that the characteristics didn't fill in that box yet. But you can see they're a large owl with a huge head, no tufts, narrow set, bright yellow eyes, and very well developed facial discs. A long body with a long tail that helps them. Oh, there it goes. Sorry. So here's a close up of the head. You can see the facial discs. And in the background, it's territorial call. These birds overwinter in their territory, and rodents don't necessarily hibernate in these winters. A lot of them are running around under the snow cover, eating the grasses that are buried under the snow. It forms like a giant hayloft or silo for these rodents during the winter. And these owls can actually hear the rodents scurrying beneath the snow, even while they're flying over. And when they hear one down there, they just plunge feet first into the snow, grab the rodent through the snow cover, and then fly off with breakfast. You can see how good their cryptic plumage is. This owl has its head turned away from us, and it blends in really well with that tree bark. Its head is there. And when it turns its head, you can see how turning the head makes a difference. Here's a mother owl sitting out in the rain with her nestlings at the top of a rotted snag. This was one of the 2 species that is marginal to include as a California bird. It's a bird of the tundra. There are eruptions where they migrate farther south outside of that territory in warmer weather or when their prey up north is scarce, but they're rarely seen in California. I included it because one caused a huge sensation in 2023 by hanging out on suburban rooftops in Southern California for a while. There were other historic sightings dating back to like 1911 and 1917, but the odds of seeing this bird in the state of California are virtually 0. It's a gorgeous bird, fun to look at, so I threw it into the mix. There's a female that the females have the more heavily spotted marked breasts, as with barn owls, and the males are more white color. This is the flammulated owl. It's about the size or even a little smaller maybe than the screech owl, but it has brown eyes. It's our only small brown-eyed owl. It uh, lives in the high altitude forested areas where it eats a lot of insects and spiders. And when it migrates, it often migrates laterally from a high altitude to a lower altitude where the bugs are more plentiful in the cold months. Here's one trying to hide against the tree trunk and doing a pretty good job. And one perched with the ear tufts lowered. It has a surprisingly low call for such a small bird because its windpipe has a large diameter for its size. And the northern pygmy owl, this guy is quite the rodent hunter. You can see no ear tufts, spotted crown. long tail with horizontal bands on it. And this owl's head is turned away from us, showing its false eye spots. A lot of animals have this. This small bird has it on the back of its head so that if it's snuck up on by a predator, the predator might decide the owl can see it and it isn't worth trying to catch it. So it's a way to avoid predation. Oftentimes, these owls will catch rodents that are as big as they are. And here's the smallest owl in California and the one that may now be extirpated or extinct in this state. This is the elf owl, tiny little guy with yellow eyes, no ear tufts, heavily marked. It's very migratory, and primarily it, during the breeding season, used to occupy the saguaro cactus areas of the state, but the saguaros have been decimated, and as far as I know, there are no recent sightings of this bird in the state. I didn't go on eBird or iNaturalist to check, but the word is it's gone, if not extremely rare. Which leads us into a conversation about conservation, because the major impacts on owls, number one on the hit parade is habitat loss. As with the elf owl losing all the cacti that it depends on for housing and that are the environments that its prey lives in, we are, developing housing and buildings all over, urban sprawl, suburban sprawl, that's taking away habitat from these birds. Building development is one thing. Another is fragmentation that results when their territories are cut or degraded by roadways and other infrastructure projects. Um, Conservationist Beth Pratt in Southern California has been working to get many freeway animal crossings built that are overpasses over freeways or green and planted subways underneath. And as soon as those things are built, the animals start using them and get joining territories that were split, and also preventing some of the animals from being hit by cars on freeways. It's a wonderful thing that she's doing. So we can help this by promoting responsible projects and by offering alternative housing to barn owls and screech owls. Extraction industries are another huge impact on these birds. This bumper sticker from the early 70s and 80s when logging in redwood forest was stopped to preserve the spotted owl habitat. It did have an economic impact on these people. And, they've since found that some of that economy can be recouped by ecotourism, by people coming to see the protected forest areas and spending money in the area. Another issue is invasive plants and animals. This Scotch broom growing in our forests covers the grass and prevents owls and other predators from preying on the rodents that are beneath. There are huge efforts to remove these plants that are invasive in our natural areas, and that's a good thing to do. Prey extirpation has also caused an impact on owl populations. Sometimes the prey needs to be protected as well as the predator. The invisible killers are another issue. Poisons, people using glue and snap traps outdoors have caused trauma to a lot of predators as well as the rodents. These single feed poisons are the absolute worst. They take days to kill the rodents that consume them, and it gradually dissolves their insides, and they essentially end up bleeding to death internally and drowning in their own blood. But before that happens, it takes 3 or 4 days. They're wandering around dazed and look like good prey for predators. Wildcare did a study sending blood samples to the state Fish and Wildlife Lab for analysis of rodenticide, and virtually every raptor that came into wildcare during this period had some level of rodenticide in its blood. A small level may not kill the raptor immediately, but it degrades their immune system and they're susceptible to other illnesses. It also, as the level increases, affects their ability to hunt successfully, and they begin starving. And the worst thing is to find a raptor with purple blood coming out of its mouth, which is the sign that it's just eaten a rodent with a really high load of these poisons. Efforts are made to have banned them. They're banned from all San Francisco public lands, but there's, I think, a recently signed bill that may block their sale. So use alternatives to poisons and outside traps that can hurt predators. Environmental toxins are another issue. A lot of raptors carry a heavy lead level in their blood from the environment. In part, it's from hunting. Some of the raptors eat carrion, or they go to a gut pile where there are fragmented lead bullets. Hunters are supposed to be using non-lead, that is steel or bismuth ammunition, to avoid that. A lot of the condors we've lost have been through lead poisoning. So we need to avoid lead and other toxins getting into the environment from paint, from ammunition, and from automobile exhaust. This is why we drive cars with unleaded gas now. And speaking of lead, this poor Cooper's hawk wished it had avoided some lead. You can see its left leg is held up in an awkward way because it had been shot. This radiograph shows that bright spot that cracked the bones in its leg and caused necrosis. The bird was walking around with that wound for a couple of weeks before I was able to hear about it and go catch it. It did not survive. This Cooper's hawk was also shot in the thorax, but fortunately it didn't hit anything vital, although the bird was sedentary and very depressed with the pain. It did recover. The wild care surgeon removed the thing, and I released it back in Richmond about 2 weeks after I brought it in. The solution to that is simple. Don't be a garbage person. Don't shoot birds. And then finally, illness and other issues that affect the bird's ability to survive. This barn owl is in a strange place at the wrong time of day with a very bad carriage and affect. So I was able to hand net it and get it to rehab. Glazing collisions are also a big issue with birds. They don't see the glass as a barrier. A raptor chasing a smaller songbird is focused on the prey and can impact the glass at a high speed. Even if the raptor is able to fly away, that may not be good. It may have brain swelling or other internal injuries. So it's good to get them to rehab where they can be treated before released. The American Bird Conservancy says over 1 billion birds are killed annually by glazing strikes. This is the aftermath of that. You can see the owl hit it with the right side. Its right eye is swollen shut. It's hunkered down with the bad side against a fence for protection. It's not a good thing to have happen. So we can help that by making glass more visible to birds. San Francisco passed a safe building ordinance that in certain areas requires glazing that deters or discourages birds from flying into them. You can use those frits or grids on the outside. Screens even help, although usually a screen will only cover half of the window, the openable part. So the other half might still be a hazard, which you can mitigate by planting trees outside or using curtains that make it visible as a barrier. Vehicular strikes are also a huge issue. Raptors don't understand vehicles when they're first getting out in the world, and they see roadways as open areas where they can cruise along. Here's that sign again about low flying owls, and that should help with traffic, making people aware of owls flying from that forested area on the left across the roadway. And driver awareness, keeping low speeds in these areas can help, but sometimes the collisions are just unavoidable. And it usually doesn't bode well for the bird. A 2-ton car and a 2-pound bird are not a good combination there. And then there are structural traps like this red tail that caught a pigeon in this area between a fixed window in a hotel room and a railing outside to keep people from falling out the window, I guess. But in any case, after the hawk ate the pigeon, there wasn't room for it to spread its wings and fly out of the space. So I had the hotel remove the window and I was able to net the bird and let it go. So dropping into narrow spaces like light wells or areas on small decks like this or building vents is an issue. This great horned owl flew down this decorative roof structure on the top, which had a square opening, and then the sides that look open were actually covered by metal screening. So once inside, the owl had no way out. It couldn't get out through that narrow opening. And then the most common structural trap are actual buildings themselves. Owls and other raptors will fly into the building. Once inside, they get confused. They don't want to fly low under the door head to get back out. So they end up flying high up into the ceiling where they feel safe perching. Anecdotally, about 80% of the hawks that I get called out for to remove from buildings need to be helped out. The other 20% manage to self extract and fly back out through the door over the course of a day or two. And they can get caught in unusual places. This was the first for me a couple of weeks ago when we got a call about this great horned owl whose wing got caught between the slats of a chair. So I don't know how that happened, but when the homeowner got up in the morning, there it was. They also will enter buildings through unauthorized openings. Woodpeckers created this hole in somebody's house, and a screech owl thought it looked like an inviting cavity to live in. So there was no nest involved or anything. I was able to catch the owl and get it outside and then plug the opening so it couldn't come back in. And as a subset of those structural traps are chimneys. Santa Claus isn't the only thing that'll come down a chimney that's open on top. People got up in the morning and found this great horned owl checking out their living room furniture. Um, when a cavity nester sees a hole, it may investigate it as a potential nest or a source of prey. So here are two great horned owls in a chimney, a screech owl, another screech owl, and two screech owls, that had to be removed from fireboxes or chimneys. And to round it out, barn owls are also guilty too. I got this barn owl out of that fireplace. Fences and netting are also bad. I'm surprised at how many batting cages there are and how often birds are able to fly into them and then not get back out. Soccer goal nets are the worst. People leave the soccer nets up overnight and the owl is chasing prey on the ground or just flying over the ground and gets caught in those they're really bad for owls because the mesh is so big that their heads and wings go partway through and get tangled and they need help getting out. Done several of those this year. Wire fences that are woven or welded wire, and the worst thing, barbed wire, are horrible for owls. This barn owl did survive, but I had to cut it out of this welded wire fence. I have never had an owl survive being caught in a barbed wire fence. The injuries are horrific. They're often hanging from a wing, and as they try to fly away, they dislocate joints or hurt themselves. It's the worst. Garden netting ain't no walk in the park either. It's horrible stuff. People put it over or around their plants to keep birds out, and it doesn't work. This poor screech owl was really entangled and taken to rehab where all the netting was removed and it needed time to heal the constriction injury on its leg. And then there's exclusionary netting. People put up uh, at courtyards, over light wells, on rooftops to keep nuisance birds like gulls and crows and pigeons away. Um, this great horn was caught in this netting at a hospital, and it was about 40 feet off the ground and 30 feet from the walls of the building. I had to get the fire department out there, who were generous to get their ladder truck up there so I could cut the owl out of the netting. So don't use anti-bird netting. It just doesn't work. And fishing line. I don't know why people cast from underneath trees or cast toward trees. There isn't there isn't a single waterway with trees around it where people fish that doesn't have monofilament or other fishing line or hanging in the trees, often with hooks that get embedded in the birds' bodies or lead sinkers or whatever. So many birds in fishing line. Um, it's easy, I think. Just don't cast from under those areas. Don't get your lines caught there where you're going to hurt wildlife. And then if you got a bunch of fishing line you're getting rid of, safely dispose of it. Don't throw it in the overflowing trash can at the lake or the park. It's going to end up on the ground and it's going to end up hurting animals. So this person decided they would put fishing line closely spaced on their roof to keep the pigeons off. And you can see what happened to this poor owl. It was tangled in two of the lines. I was able to get it and use a razor knife, duct tape to a long stick and cut the fishing line and get the bird into care. So if you can, you might want to take a screenshot of this slide because it's a list of local agencies that can help with owl and raptor conservation. And now it's time to go from conservation to conversation. So Mila, if you want to relay.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Okay, let me stop sharing my screen.
Okay. So, where, pray tell, are you? Can you show up?
I'm coming back slowly here. A lot of buttons to push.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes. All right. So let's see. That was fantastic, actually. I had no idea that they were so well camouflaged. That you really, really can't see them.
Yeah, it's an amazing adaptation.
It's phenomenal. To
It
what
is.
degree they just blend in with the bark of the tree.
Yeah. I mean, because predators can also be prey, and it's important for them, to
Yeah.
stay out of harm's way. A great horned owl will kill and eat virtually every other bird I showed you in this slide tonight. They're top predators. They, so these little owls need to camouflage themselves too.
Mm. Mm. Is there a size dimorphism between the females and the males in the
Yes, there
owls?
is. The
There is.
females are in most species are notably larger. I'm really glad you asked that question because I should have mentioned the burrowing owl as an exception to that. The males are slightly larger than the females, but with all the other owl species, the dimorphism is exactly like you said, with other raptors, the females are larger.
Uh-huh. Okay. And let me go to the Q&A and see, we got lots of questions. So, not sure if you know I'm online. I can hear you, but okay, so that was the problem there. We have made 2 outboxes for a remote property at 3,000 feet near Willits, California.
Mhm.
So
Good.
that should help,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
Um,
the boxes are usually made with a specific species in mind. The hole and the dimensions of the box, the hole diameter are important considerations. The hole needs to be as small as possible to keep larger predators out of the box. And it also needs to be a certain distance up from the floor of the box so the youngsters don't crowd themselves out and leave the box too soon and end up on the ground before they have their flight feathers. So the owl boxes are a great thing to do, but they're also a responsibility. It's a responsibility to get the right size, properly made box with drainage holes and proper ventilation, and to locate it in a spot that's not going to bake the little owls in the sun. And then it's also a responsibility sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving to clean that box out.
hmm, yeah.
But I'm really heartened by how many people want to put up owl boxes and give these guys a home. Sometimes they put up a box for a screech owl and bluebirds move in,
No,
which is great too. I mean, they're great insect eaters. They're wild animals. They're going to do what they can do, but you can, through some design efforts, uh, try to get a certain species.
have you noticed, Craig, with the decrease in insects, how the owls are coping?
Yeah, it's a big issue. Um, you know, I haven't studied the small insect-eating species enough to know if there's been a decline in the population attributable to that,
Hmm.
but it's got to have a negative impact.
Yeah, I'm thinking it
I mean,
must.
it's a huge loss of insects. It's
Yes.
enormous.
Yeah, I'm sure it has a heavy impact on their diet. I mean, really, how do they keep going?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Oh,
some of them can also eat other arthropods. Some of them can eat small rodents as well, and to survive, they'll have to adjust their diets.
so
And
it's
as I mentioned, like with the flammulated owls, they may migrate or even move and breed in different territories where the insects are, if there are any left.
right. Okay, so let me look. Zinzi is saying something. They are going to slaughter 450,000 barn owls.
Barn or
Barred,
barn?
barred
Barred.
owls.
Yeah, yeah, that's the plan. It was something like, well, it was a huge number per year. They did a test study in 2 plots where there were both species of owls, and their sharpshooters killed a bunch of barred owls in one. There were no spotted owl fatalities. It's something that is really hard to accept as an animal lover, that they're going to wantonly kill all these animals who are just doing what nature is directing them to do, to expand into territory they can use. And unless humans are the cause of that or enabling that, humans shouldn't interfere with it. So you could make an argument that one reason that the barred owls were able to spread westward across southern Canada was because of human development. And that gave them kind of a bridge to where they are now. I don't know enough about it. I'm not smart enough to know the answer, whether, killing all these barred owls is the thing to do.
We had a lecture from Dr. Jack Dumbacker who
Oh,
is,
really?
yes,
I wouldn't have
on precisely the subject of barred owls and this and
The spotted
the
owl.
spotted owl in the western in the northwestern
Yeah,
states.
that's where it
And
was felt first in the US.
yeah, the redwoods, yeah. So if you look through the lectures, it was
Yeah.
recorded, and folks, if you want to listen to his lecture, we do have it. You just have to search for it, but it's Dr. Jack Dumbacker, curator
I'm
of
definitely going to do that.
yeah,
I want to hear what he had to say.
curator of ornithology and mammalogy at the Academy of Sciences. So do look that up if you're interested. And then, is it possible, um, um, Craig, to put up some of the sounds that the owls make? Because while you were talking and the sounds of people are asking to hear the owls, uh, is
Um,
it no, no?
yeah, I don't think, I don't see a way to make it work efficiently, given that the sounds are embedded in a whole bunch of different
Slides. Yeah,
slides.
okay. Well, that's fine. So,
Let,
but we do need that last screenshot where you have all the rehab centers.
okay.
If you
Well,
can put that up, Zinzi wasn't able to, nor was I able to take a picture of it before it disappeared. We're slow. What can I say?
okay.
No, we need it bigger.
Yeah, I'm getting it bigger.
Uh, that's good. Okay, so here we are getting ready to take a picture. Photo. Photo. There we go. Okay. Right. So that helps. I think we've got them all up there. Okay,
Okay,
thank
well,
you. Yeah, yeah.
since I have this, I could probably play a few calls. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'd
Do
love to
we
hear
have,
them.
was there any indication of any particular species they wanted to hear?
Here, let me check and see. Um, let's see.
Okay, so let's do the barred owl since we were.
We were talking about barred owls, right?
uh,
Okay, so that's short and sweet. Can you can you repeat?
And then here's the spotted.
Short and sweet. That's distinctive.
And the saw-whet owl. That name comes from the sound the owl makes that was thought to resemble the kind of keening noise that it makes sharpening a saw.
Uh-huh. Nope, didn't hear that one at all.
You didn't hear that?
No, here I am desperately trying to hear it.
That's strange. Let me turn the volume all the way up. Do you hear it now?
Yes. Well, I heard it once with a just sort of, yeah. Okay.
Okay. And the burrowing owl. Screech owl.
Nothing's coming through on the last ones.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, no sounds are coming through in the last couple.
Well, if it's not working, I'll quit doing it.
Okay. I don't know. For some reason, the last two didn't really produce much of anything.
Okay. So, other questions?
Yep. Oh my,
I'm doing this.
hey, the screech owl. This is the Western screech owl. Adrian's doing it from
It's like a Sibley app on the phone.
Okay.
yeah.
So that,
I can't hear it.
oh,
Can you? No? No.
no,
Okay.
Oh, there, yeah, I heard it.
All right. So let's go back to the questions and see.
Yeah.
Something was asked about, is barbed wire forbidden in California? I don't think so, because I see it everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere. Most of the incidents I've had have been in the more like rural areas of the Bay Area. But barbed wire is commonly used. There are a lot of areas where grazing land abuts public land, and to keep the cows contained in the grazing side, there's barbed wire. There are horse ranches around Pleasanton. There are all kinds of places where barbed wire exists. I don't know if it's legal or illegal to put up a new barbed wire fence, but the existing ones are everywhere.
Mm.
And it's, like I say, it's a brutal injury to the bird, as the barbs are sharp, twisted pieces, and the points go off in two different directions. And once the animal gets impaled on it, you can't pull the skin or the wing straight off it, because it's like a V or sometimes even three prongs of this pointing in different directions. And sometimes the owl sits there and bakes in the sun until somebody notices it and calls it in. Sometimes they spend all night trying to escape it. It's a brutal thing. I just hate to see an animal, a raptor near barbed wire.
Terrible. So somebody's asking about an owl house to be placed flat on the roof. If you have a flat roof and you try and put an owl house instead of on a tree, that's going to be super hot.
Possibly, yeah. It depends on the orientation and if there are high shade trees over part of the roof or something. It each site for an owl box needs to be evaluated for predominant storm direction, you don't want to put the hole into like facing northeast when that's all, where all the rain blows in, if we ever get rain. And the solar orientation is incredibly important. Um, we've built boxes that have sun shields, which is a separate piece of wood spaced attached above over the roof of the box that leaves an airspace. So the shield gets hot and there's air that can circulate between it and the roof of the owl box below. And I've also used them like on west facing walls of owl boxes to do the same thing to keep the interior of the box cooler. In terms of the specifics of putting it flat on a roof, it's a dicey thing if there are rodents like squirrels or rats running around on the roof. They can more easily get into the box. Um, Squirrels will eat owl eggs. They will eat young nestlings. People don't realize that a lot of the animals, the mammals we think of as herbivores are actually omnivores. I mean, there's evidence of deer eating roadkill meat. You know, those, you think of these guys as grazers or browsers, and
Mm.
they do get, they they take advantage of what they can find. So squirrels will eat a lot of owl eggs or bird eggs and bird young if they can get to the nest.
You
So,
may oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Craig, you mentioned something about under highway passages
mhm.
for owls and other wildlife?
Well, it isn't so much for the owls as it is for the terrestrial animals,
Yes.
but it also may cause flying predators to use it. And a few of them are underpasses. Most of them are overpasses built above the freeway
Yes, I think those
crossings.
are probably preferable, no?
Um, yeah, but in some cases, I think it's less expensive to build it under, you
Oh,
know,
really?
it may
Yeah,
be.
well,
In any case, it's helped a lot, and you're seeing fewer like deer carcasses.
but there aren't that many built considering the amount of
Bay
freeway
Area,
we
I'm
have.
not aware of any, but a lot of them have been built in Central and Southern California.
Mm. And yeah, I heard they're expensive to build.
Sure,
So,
it's an infrastructure project.
yeah. So, oh, someone's asking, do owls blink?
Oh, they blink a lot.
Ah,
They blink with that third eyelid, the nictitans, frequently to keep the cornea clean and lubricated. They blink with their skin eyelids all the time. They close those eyes when they sleep. The nictitans is transparent. So at night whenever they want to sleep, whether it's at night or during the day and they close their eyelids, they need to close the skin eyelids. So, you know, it's dark. Otherwise, the light goes through the nictitans, but they blink a lot all the time.
okay. So, let's see. And the name of the person who's working on the wildlife corridors?
Beth Pratt.
Beth Pratt. Okay. Uh, okay. Is there someone one can, is there a group or an organization that one can consult about placement or of,
Of
of a,
boxes.
of a box,
Yeah.
and what size
That
hole?
screen you had me put up has um, the Hungry Owl Project and All About Owls. Both of those organizations will consult. I think Lindsay Wildlife has people who can help site a box. Um,
They can actually come out.
yeah,
Well, that's good. That's helpful.
yeah. I mean, Wildcare has a big questionnaire to fill out before you buy a box from them about the site and
Mhm.
the suitability for the box.
Mm.
I've seen people just go online and find a box they like and buy it and put it up. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it's rough on the owls.
Mm. And well, you spoke about many species of owls. So is there a decline in any of them? I mean, obviously some are, like the elf one is totally, or the pygmy one,
Probably gone.
gone.
I haven't looked at specific population numbers for the various species.
Mm.
Um, I mean, there are kind of two aspects to wildlife biology. One is like the wildlife crossing thing, where you're looking at ecosystems and populations, and the other is one individual at a time, like I do, rescuing them. And
Mm.
my focus has been on that one at a time thing, and I haven't paid a lot of attention to the population numbers recently.
Okay,
If I
that's
ran
good.
across an article, I'd certainly read it, but I haven't researched it actively.
Right. Okay, well, I think we've basically, well, we've kept you for quite a while. Let me just have a quick gander through these. Um, yeah. With regards to the calls, you can go on people who haven't heard the calls in this in your presentation can definitely listen to it again, or probably go on YouTube and check out, or on Sibley's bird app, you'll be able to put in the name of the owl, and you will get the call, just like Adrian did here. But I don't know whether anyone attending could hear it. But you can definitely do it that way. So, Craig, thank you again for a wonderful, wonderful presentation. It was absolutely fascinating.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. As you can tell, I love talking about owls, and I hope the audience enjoyed it as well.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Good night.
All right. Good night,
Okay.
everyone. We're gonna
Thank
finish
you.
here.
Right.
And yeah,
Oh, we're back.
we're back.
Okay.
Okay, somebody had a lower hand. I don't know.
More.
Okay, so we're gonna end the webinar. If you have any questions, email Adrian and we'll see if we can get some answers. All right, take care and we'll see you in October, hopefully. Yes? All right, thanks. Cheerio.